Wall Street rebounds as indices claw back steep losses seen on Friday's trading session. The Dow gains almost 600 points and the Nasdaq more than 400. Asian markets opened largely higher, while the GIFT Nifty is indicating a lower start for our own Indian markets. Crude oil prices slip as traders digested OPEC Plus decision to raise output amid growing geopolitical uncertainty. Traders are also watching for possible US action against Russian oil flows. Meanwhile, gold prices extend gains on expectations of a rate cut from the Federal Reserve. US President Donald Trump threatens to substantially raise tariffs paid by India to the United States, says India is buying massive amounts of Russian oil and selling it on the open market for big profits. Indian government response to Trump's tariff threats says the targeting of India is unjustified and unreasonable. Like any major economy, India will take all necessary measures to safeguard its national interest and economic security. Well, CNBC TV18 Newsbreak confirmed as the Reserve Bank of India approves the appointment of Rajiv Anand as MD and CEO of IndusInd Bank for 3 years. His appointment is approved with effect from August 25, 2025, subject to shareholders' nod. And in key earnings, watch out for numbers from Bharti Airtel. The company is expected to report 2.2% rise in revenue on a sequential basis, aided by an increase in India's mobile business. Also watch out for numbers from Lupin and Britannia. Good morning in the Mumbai News Centre. I am Vamakshi Thoria. You're watching Power Breakfast. It's the second day of this week. The first day was quite good for markets globally. The handover that came in from the US markets was quite positive. And here in India as well, the markets did quite well. But today, let's see how the session holds out, because we do have the threats coming in from US President Donald Trump on raising tariffs on India further as compared to what we have right now. So of course, that is something that we'll keep an eye out for. But first up, before we head into all the stocks as well as the FNOQs, let's take a look at what the Asian markets are doing. Well, it's largely a green-looking screen. The Kospi is the index that is gaining the most in today's trading session. So far, it's up almost 1.5%. Taiwan is the other big mover today, up almost 0.9%, and Hang Seng as well, as you can see on your screen, is up almost 0.2%. The Nikkei too saw very good gains in yesterday's trading session. Was in fact the top index that was trading higher in yesterday's trading session, and today we do have it trading higher with almost around 0.5%. So the Asia picture for now is it's a sea of green as far as Asia is concerned. But let's take a look at how our own Indian markets are expected to open. The GIFT Nifty will come for you on the screen. For now, it's a 40-point downtake, but let's see where we go from here. But moving on then, we now have our research team joining in with how the trade setup looks like and the stocks that are likely to be in the news. First up, Vivek is joining us to get us all the market cues we need to watch out for in today's trading session. Good morning, Vivek. What does today's session hold out?
Well, good morning. While we started off the week on a strong note, all eyes today will be on the kind of impact that Trump's latest tweet on, exactly what will the kind of tariffs that India is going to see. He's talking about higher tariffs, also penalties, something that is looming as far as Indians are concerned. On the back of that, a lot of uncertainty prevails. Now, talking about US markets, similar to Indian markets, US markets also rebounded after a 4-day losing streak. All of the US markets ended strongly higher in the session today. In fact, even the Indian markets yesterday rebounded quite significantly after a 4-week downtake, and yesterday the Nifty managed to end above the 24,700 mark. Now, the other good news was that the oil prices yesterday extended their cut. So Brent yesterday ended lower by over 1.3%. Close near the $68.7 a barrel mark. In terms of what is it that we'll be watching out for today, well, number one, Trump's tariff threat is something that we need to watch out for. So watch out for all of the OMCs in trade, watch out for the textile pack, and also watch out for the auto ancillary space. Along with that, some key result reactions today, the results that came in post-market hours yesterday, Aurobindo Pharma, Bosch, DLF Sona, all of these key names will react to the results. And Paytm, remember, large block is expected, and Fin will be exiting their stake completely. On the other hand, some key results to watch out for today. Remember, Adani Ports, Airtel, Britannia, Lupin, some of the stocks that will come out, or some of the companies that will report their Q1 results today. Asian markets, like I mentioned, in the green. GIFT Nifty, however, indicating a gap down start for our markets today.
Well, absolutely, Vivek. Thank you so much for that update. Now, let's move on to Ria, who will now list out all the stocks we need to watch out for in today's trading session. Good morning, Ria.
Good morning, Vamakshi. Let's take a look at the stocks to be in focus today. First up, starting off with IndusInd Bank. RBI has approved the appointment of Rajiv Anand as the MD and CEO of the company for a period of 3 years. So keep your eye out on that stock on the back of that. Next up, moving on to Paytm. Sources say that Anfin is likely to sell a 5.84% equity of the company via block deals. And remember, this is expected to be a clean out trade. Moving on to the earnings, Siemens Energy has reported its quarter 3 numbers. The net profit has gone up by over 80% on a year-on-year basis. Even the revenue has seen an increase of over 20%. For DLF for quarter 1, the sales booking has gone up by over 44% on a year-on-year basis, coming in at rupees 23,223 crores. The collections have also seen an increase of around 36% compared to the same quarter in the last year. For Kansai and Derolac, the revenue has seen an increase of just about 1.4%. And the margins have come in at 14% versus 15.5% in Q1 of last year. For Inox India, revenue has seen an increase of around 14.5% compared on a year-on-year basis. Margins have been slightly subdued, coming in at 22.5% versus 23.6% in Q1 of last year. For Delta Corp, revenue and net profit have seen increases of around 3.8% and 36% respectively on a year-on-year basis. For Aurobindo Pharma, the net profit has come in at about 824 crores compared to our estimates of 920 odd crores. Revenue has also been below estimates at 7,868 crores.
Well, thank you so much for those updates, Ria. Lots of earnings in focus today. But finally, we now have Sudarshan joining in with cues from the F&O space. Sudarshan, good morning.
Good morning, Vamaxi. So yesterday we saw a broad-based gains led by especially mid-cap index, and mid-cap index was up more than 1%. Even Nifty was higher and managed to hold on to levels above 24,700. While support came from IT, metal and autos, one sector that was under pressure and kept gains in the check was financial, especially Nifty Bank, because heavyweights like ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank have closed with cuts. Now, overnight cues are largely positive, but Trump's comment about a tariff on India might weigh on market, and that's the reason you are seeing that GIFT Nifty is indicating a start with minor cuts. As far as flows are concerned, FIs continue to sell. Yesterday also we saw in the cash market, FIs have sold more than rupees 2,500 crore and DIs have bought more than rupees 4,300 crore. In the index futures, it was just a minor buy figure of rupees 204 crore by FIs, and also they have added long positions on just more than 800 contracts and have reduced short positions of around 425 contracts. Now again, FIs long exposure remains around 9%. On the option front, 24,800 call keep seeing the maximum additions. Here we saw addition of more than 14 lakh shares. Again, 24,700 call option was healthy as well. We saw addition here also almost 14 lakh shares. On the put side, 24,600 and 24,700 put have seen maximum additions. Support for Nifty remains around 24,550 and resistance is at 24,900. Stocks, one stock in the band, that is PNB Housing Finance. One stock that I'll keep a track on is IndusInd Bank, because board and RBI have approved appointment of Rajiv Anand as MD and CEO for 3 years.
Well, absolutely, Sud. Thank you so much for those details. But like you just said, it's a CNBC TV18 news break confirmed. IndusInd Bank has appointed Axis Bank's Rajiv Anand as the MD and CEO for 3 years. The stock will definitely be in focus today. And Ritu is joining in with more details. Ritu, congratulations on your news break.
Thank you very much. Yes, the uncertainty is finally behind, and this is positive news for IndusInd Bank. The street had been factoring in Rajiv Anand's name, and this should be taken positively, with RBI now approving his appointment as the MD and CEO for a 3-year period. It takes into, it comes into effect from the 25th of August this year and will be valid for 3 years. Is the appointment, but of course that will have to be ratified by shareholders as well. In terms of the legacy issues, the bank in its earnings call has said that those are behind, and they started Q1 on a clean slate after they swung back to profit. After that historic loss of more than 2,000 crores in the fourth quarter. And they've outlined already 5 key areas of focus. One is profitability. Second is cost management. Third is focus on recoveries, building the franchise, and, some effective engagement with stakeholders to restore trust. So, Rajiv Anand does have his task cut out. Before him, there's lots to take on, as, whether that is integrating the leadership also, because we've seen a whole lot of senior level exits at IndusInd Bank. he must do that. The capital raising will have to be in process. The board has approved a 30,000 crore fundraise already, and of course, strengthening internal controls, restoring governance, and the reputation of the bank will be some of the key challenges ahead.
Well, thank you so much for that, Ritu. Indeed, a positive news flow for IndusInd Bank for now, but let's slip into a very short break. Up next, we get you updates from the US President Donald Trump's tariff threat to India. Stay tuned for more. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Well, US President Donald Trump took to Truth Social last evening and said that he will substantially raise tariffs on India over its purchases of Russian oil. He wrote, and I quote, "India is not only buying massive amounts of Russian oil, they are then, for much of the oil purchased, selling it on the open market for big profits. They don't care how many people in Ukraine are being killed by the Russian war machine. Because of this, I will be substantially raising tariff paid by India to the USA," end of quote. However, he did not elaborate on what the tariff would be. Remember, last week, Trump had said that he would impose a 25% tariff on goods imported from India and added that India would also face an unspecified penalty but gave no details. Now, following the US President's tariff threat, India has issued a very strong response. Parikshit is joining in with more on this. Parikshit?
Well, the Indian government has said that targeting of India is unjustified and unreasonable. They've also said that India will take all necessary measures to safeguard its national interests and economic security. And India has been maintaining that we have been buying energy from global markets based on pricing and the geopolitical situation. Also, the Ministry of External Affairs went on to say that it was the United States which had initially, during the Biden administration, immediately after the war began, encouraged India to buy more Russian oil. This is to strengthen global energy markets stability. Remember, the US and Joe Biden had never really checked India for purchasing Russian oil because we were purchasing it as per the price cap that had been set. In fact, the government has gone on to say that Indian imports are a necessity compared by global market situations. India has also hit back, saying that it's very revealing that very nations who are criticizing India today are themselves indulging in trade with Russia. For example, EU today is importing LNG, which has reached a record 16.5 million tons in 2024. US on its part is also trading with Russia. They continue to import uranium, hexafluoride, palladium, fertilizers, and chemicals from Russia. So a strongly worded statement coming out from the government, but behind the scenes we're told that there will be efforts from both sides to manage the situation. There is a team of negotiators coming from the United States to find a breakthrough. So let's hope for the best over the next few weeks.
Well, thanks for all of those details, Parikshit. An absolutely stern statement coming in from the Ministry of External Affairs. But Parikshit, do stay on with us because you also spoke to the president of the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, Mukesh Aghi, on how India should respond amid the tariff threats. Let's listen in.
I think once you get into a contest in media with Trump, he will go all the way to basically put you down. And I think it is not in the interest of India or the United States to get into this kind of a contest. India has quietly basically started buying more and more U.S. energy, both LNG and other aspects of the LNG coming from the U.S. I think that's where the focus should be. And I think we should just basically get away from getting into public media challenging Trump, because the moment you get into a contest, it's, he basically goes all the way down to ensure that he comes out as a winner. So my recommendation is don't react and stay focused on what's good for the country and move on.
Moving on, let's also recap what happened in the US markets then. Wall Street ended higher in Monday's trading session. The Dow climbed 585 points, S&P 500 rose 92 points, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq was up almost 400 points. CNBC's Bertha Coombs gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets up across the major indexes in Monday trading as Wall Street clawed back losses from Friday's sell-off. The Dow climbing 585 points. The S&P 500 was up 92, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq surged 403 points. The European Union announced Monday that in order to allow for trade talks to continue, it would delay by 6 months its planned tariff countermeasures against the U.S., which were set to take effect this week. It comes the same day as President Trump vowed to substantially raise tariffs on India over its purchase of Russian oil, saying the country is profiteering off of the Russian war machine. Meantime, Tesla announcing Monday that its board has approved an interim pay package for CEO Elon Musk, awarding him 100 million shares. In a regulatory filing, Tesla said the award, valued at about $29 billion, will slowly increase Elon Musk's voting power, which it says will incentivize him to stay focused on its business. It comes as Musk fights a court ruling that voided his $50 billion compensation package from 2018 because it was unfair to shareholders, according to the ruling. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back over to you in Mumbai.
Well, Bertha, thank you so much for that comprehensive update. But let's move on to what the White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett and Allianz Chief Economic Advisor Mohammad El-Edian had to say about the firing of the Bureau of Labor Statistics chief and their views on Powell's resignation.
Unreliable. As you know, I've been on this show on Squawk Box before I was here at the White House pretty much every jobs day for the last 20, 25 years, right? We would come up to New York and I'd be on set and we'd talk about the jobs numbers. And when I looked at the revisions that came out last week, I thought they had to be a typo or something. You probably thought so too. And, you know, it's something that has been a work in progress for us at OMB and CEA here at the White House to try to understand why the data have become so unreliable. You know, there's some part of the story about response rates and so on, but I think it's really important now that we get a fresh set of eyes over there to try to modernize the labor data, because it has to be transparent, it has to be reliable, it has to be something the market can make big bets on. And right now it's not. When the revisions are bigger than the number itself, then you know you got troubles.
This shouldn't be a political move. This is an apolitical institution. It is true that it's had persistent problem on data collection. The response rate has come down. There hasn't been much incorporation of the higher frequency data that was so valuable to everybody during the pandemic. And then clearly there's a problem of methodology. The estimation, until you get more data, seems to be off. So there are problems on the data collection and the data estimation, but you should not undermine the institutional integrity of the BLS. It's not just the president. You have the Johnson in Congress. You have Secretary Bessent. The attacks on the Fed are expanding and deepening. And I really worry about the financial integrity of the Fed, much more than the financial integrity of the BLS.
Well, on that note, let's slip into a very short break. Up next, we get you cues from the commodities markets, so stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Now, as promised, we now have Manisha Gupta joining us with all the updates from the world of commodities. Good morning, Manisha. What are you watching out for?
Morning, Mama. Thank you for that. I'm looking at the crude oil prices, which are declining for a fourth straight day today, while OPEC will increase production until the month of September, and completely phased reversal of voluntary cuts that they made in 2023 is one reason that you're looking at pressure in crude oil prices. And then it is also about possible U.S. action against Russia oil flows, U.S. also threatening secondary sanctions on countries buying Russian crude, specifically targeting India, is something that the markets also are seeing as a developing one. On the other side, you have the copper prices in U.S., which also have continued to decline, so much so that we fell 30% from record highs, and we are now trading at an April low into the markets. But the decline is only seen in case of copper, because when you look at the other metals, there is some support continuing here. Steel, for one, gained by a percentage point. Iron ore futures gained by 1.5%. Prices have seen a recovery from the biggest weekly decline since the month of April. Markets are looking at the US dollar index continuing to decline. It did touch 100 last week. It's trading at 98.5 right now. The markets also do believe on a September Fed rate cut, and that seems to be supporting a lot of metals, including gold and silver in Asia right now.
Well, thank you for that comprehensive update, Manisha. But moving on then, the Enforcement Directorate has summoned Anil Ambani for questioning as part of its ongoing probe into an alleged 17,000 crore loan fraud case. He has been directed to appear at the ED headquarters in Delhi today. Those are the visuals of Ambani leaving his residence for Delhi. Well, it was a dramatic finale to the Anderson Tendulkar Test series in England as India came from behind to pull off a 6-run win in the last match to tie the series. It was Mia Magic on the field as Mohammad Siraj took 5 wickets to give India its narrowest ever victory in any Test match. He has also become the joint highest wicket taker for India in a Test series in England. Captain Shubman Gill, along with England's Harry Brook, was named man of the series after scoring the most number of runs over the 5 Test matches. Well, that's all we have on this edition of Power Breakfast. Don't go anywhere. Pasar Morning Call comes up next.